Executed today, the final 12 minutes of Harold Wayne Nichols, 10:39 a.m. That is the time on the death certificate. This morning, December 11th, 2025, the oldest story in Chattanooga's criminal history finally came to an end. Harold Wayne Nichols, the man who turned a quiet home in the Brainerd neighborhood into a slaughterhouse nearly 40 years ago, is dead. He was 64 years old. He had been sitting on death row for 35 years. For the family of Karen Pulley, this moment has been described as the end of 37 years of hell. For the witnesses behind the glass curtain, it was 12 minutes of watching a man sigh, groan, and turn purple as the chemicals took hold. And for Harold Nichols, his last words were a mix of apology and delusion. "I know where I'm going to," he said. "I'm ready to go home." Today, on Justice and Injustice, we are looking at the full, dark timeline of this case. From the 2x4 lumber he used as a weapon in 1988, to the energized spree of assaults that terrorized a city, to the final, controversial injection that stopped his heart this morning. This is the execution of Harold Wayne Nichols. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Chapter 1. The Night in Brainerd. To understand the relief flooding through the Monroe and Pulley families today, you have to go back to September 30th, 1988. Karen Pulley was 20 years old. A student at Chattanooga State, she was living with 2 roommates in a house that was supposed to be safe. She was young, innocent, described by her sister as a good Christian woman who never hurt anyone. On that night, Karen was home alone. She was in her bed. She was safe. Until she wasn't. Outside, a shadow was moving. Harold Wayne Nichols. He wasn't just a burglar looking for cash. He was a predator looking for a target. According to federal court records, Nichols parked his car nearby. He didn't bring a gun. He didn't bring a knife. He found a piece of lumber. A 2x4. He climbed through a bathroom window. He crept through the house. He found Karen asleep. The violence that followed is difficult to speak about, but necessary to understand why the jury returned a death sentence. He struck her in the head with the board. He raped her, and when he was done, he didn't just leave. He picked up the lumber again. He crushed her skull. Karen Pulley didn't die immediately. She was found the next morning by a roommate, lying in a pool of blood, still breathing, still fighting. She died at the hospital the next day. Her brother-in-law, Jeff Monroe, said it best after the execution today. "Our family was destroyed by evil that night, but Karen wasn't the only one. She was just the first known victim of a monster who was just getting started." Chapter 2. Energized by Evil. For 3 months from September 1988 to January 1989, Chattanooga was a hunting ground. Nichols wasn't hiding. He was roaming. In his own words, he was energized. He told investigators that he would get these sudden feelings, these urges, and he would just go do it. He targeted women. He used a cord, a knife, a pistol. He raped or attempted to rape at least 12 women in that short span. When police finally caught him in January 1989, it wasn't for the murder. It was for unrelated charges. But once he was in that interrogation room, the dam broke. He confessed, but listen to why he confessed. Court records say he talked, primarily to set the record straight, because the police had been falsely accusing him of other rapes that he had not committed. He wanted credit for his crimes. He wanted the details to be right. Intermittent explosive disorder. During his trial, psychologists tried to explain him. They claimed he had intermittent explosive disorder. They said he was a man who seemed placid and passive on the surface, but underneath there were raging tensions that periodically exploded. Nichols himself admitted on the stand, if the police hadn't caught him, he would have continued. He couldn't stop. The jury saw the 2x4. They saw the 12 victims. They saw the lack of true remorse. And in 1990, they sentenced him to death. Chapter 3. the 35-year wait. That sentence was handed down in 1990. So why did it take until December 2025 to carry it out? This is where the story becomes a frustration of legal bureaucracy and glitches in the system. Nichols survived 3 decades of appeals. He survived a scheduled execution date in 2020 because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor Bill Lee granted him a reprieve because in the middle of a lockdown, the state couldn't safely kill him. Tennessee pauses executions, lethal injection, protocol review. Then came 2022. The glitch. Tennessee discovered that for years, they hadn't been testing their lethal injection drugs properly. The protocol was flawed. The governor paused everything. An independent review was launched. For 2 years, the death chamber at Riverbend gathered dust. Nichols sat in his cell, writing letters, claiming he was a changed man. Document scan of a letter. Handwriting overlay. I am accountable to you. He wrote to Karen Pulley's mother. He claimed he had found God. He claimed that because Karen's mother had forgiven him years ago, he was rehabilitated. His lawyers argued that he shouldn't die. They said 6 of the original jurors now opposed the execution. They said the 64-year-old man was not the 27-year-old monster. But the state of Tennessee disagreed. In March 2025, the pause was lifted. The new protocol pentobarbital was approved. And the date was set. Chapter 4, the execution protocol. Let's talk about what happened today. Because the details of the execution are disturbing, Tennessee law has a strange quirk. If you were convicted before 1999, you can choose your method, lethal injection or the electric chair. Nichols refused to choose. He declined to sign the paperwork. By default, that meant lethal injection. The exterior of Riverbend this morning. Protesters standing in the fenced-off area. At 10:25 a.m., the curtains in the witness room opened. Media witnesses saw Nichols strapped to the gurney. There was already blood on his right arm issues, with the 4 insertion site. This is a common problem in modern executions. Finding a vein in a 64-year-old man with a history of stress and incarceration isn't always easy. He spoke his last words. To the people I've harmed, I'm sorry. He apologized to the people he harmed. He told his family he loved them. He recited the Lord's Prayer with his spiritual advisor. And then the pentobarbital began to flow. Chapter 5. Purple skin and groans. Witnesses described a scene that was far from clinical. At 10:30 a.m., Nichols sighed. Then he groaned. He took several deep breaths, his chest heaving against the straps. At 10:31 a.m., he stopped moving. But the chemicals continued to work. Around 10:35 a.m., witnesses reported that his skin began to turn purple. This is likely due to the massive dose of pentobarbital causing respiratory arrest and the cessation of blood flow leading to rapid cyanosis. The clock ticking to 10:39. At 10:39 a.m., the curtain closed. He was pronounced dead. For Rick Laud, the lone supporter of the death penalty standing outside the prison, it was justice served. For the 30 protesters singing hymns, it was state-sanctioned murder. But for Jeff Monroe, standing at the podium moments later, it was simply the end. Jeff Monroe. No punishment can ever atone for the loss of Karen's life, but this is a start. We are relieved that the nightmare is over, he said. He never again will be able to hurt anyone else. Conclusion. The empty cell. Tonight, a cell on death row at Riverbend is empty. Harold Wayne Nichols is gone. The lawsuits are moot. The intermittent explosive disorder is no longer a danger to the public, but the scars remain. Karen Pulley would have been 57 years old today. She might have had children. She might have been a grandmother. That timeline was stolen in 1988 with a piece of lumber and a broken window. We cover these executions because they are the final chapter in the story of justice. Whether you agree with the death penalty or not, the story of Harold Nichols is a reminder of the evil that can exist in our own backyards. The energized predator has finally been stopped. Rest in peace, Karen Pulley. Thank you for facing this chasm between justice and injustice.